Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm answering some of your questions. I asked you on Instagram, both on my personal Instagram at Rhoda Daniel and on a Life Under Construction's Instagram, to ask me any questions on life, advice, relationships, career, anything that is on your mind. And you all came through. I was going to film this as part of another vlog that I was in the process of filming, but the number of questions that you gave and the depth of the questions that you gave made me realize that I have to do an entirely different video for that, and this is that video. So let's get to the questions. The first question asked was, and this was the first question that came in, do you struggle with understanding God's will? Yes, I have at different stages of my life struggled with trying to find what God's will for my life was. God's specific will, the general will of, okay, love God, love people, I know, but the specifics of it was something that I did have questions on, especially as I was trying to find my way in life. When I was trying to find my purpose, when I was trying to find the reason for my existence, I had all these questions and I didn't know what to do. I think what I've realized over the last decade or so is that you won't always know the entirety of God's plan, but you will definitely understand the next step. You would see the next step, and then the key is to just focus on the next step. We sometimes want to know everything, and that's not mostly the case, so it's just focus on the next step. If you're someone who is currently not knowing the next step, I think what you can do is ask God, pray, fast, read God's word, do all the things you need to do to ask Him for clarity, ask Him for wisdom, ask Him for discernment. You will find the answer. Follow the peace. That's another thing that I have learned, is even if I don't understand the situation with my mind or understand the next step with my mind, if I feel peace in my heart, I will do it, because I know that that's what I'm meant to do. So for example, when I moved to Coimbatore from Bombay after college, I didn't know what I was supposed to do here. I didn't know what my purpose was, what career I wanted to go into. I had no clue. All I knew when I was trying to figure this out, when I was trying to ask God what I needed to do next, was I needed to move here. And in my mind, even after I moved here, it didn't make sense. I had absolutely no idea. It took me a few years, not even months, it took me a few years to understand why I'm here. And so follow the peace. That's all I can say, is when you know in your heart. Like at that point of time, I didn't understand why, but I knew this was where I was meant to be. And if you don't know what to do, I would also say stay where you are and be diligent with what you have right now. Sometimes we're looking for the next thing, we're asking questions about the next thing, but when we don't get that answer, we get a little restless. I would say just wait and be diligent. Do what you can with what you have right now, and God will tell you the next step when the time is right. The next question is how to overcome fear, stress, and disappointment. So these are three things that I deal with separately. So let's start with fear. Fear naturally is our alert system to tell us when something is wrong, but you will also notice that fear alerts you when something might not be wrong, it's just new. So it's important to differentiate what kind of fear is it. Is it fear of something that's actually dangerous, or is just fear of something new, something different, something that's out of your comfort zone? When you know that, and when you know it's something out of your comfort zone, it's something different, it's something new, then remember this statement that courage is not the absence of fear, but the belief that there is something more important than the fear. This is something that I heard many years ago and it stuck with me. I don't know who said it, but it's somebody important and somebody obviously very intelligent, because when we face fear, the first question we need to ask ourselves, or the first question I ask myself, is the outcome of facing this fear important enough? So for example, I speak a lot in public and I still feel fear. I still feel anxiety when I get up on stage. I know that the consequence of me speaking on that stage is worth it. And because of that, I will face that fear and feel the fear and do it anyway. So that's another thing that I live by, is even if I feel the fear, if I know for sure that the outcome of it or the other side of it is worth it, I will feel the fear, because you can't take away the fear. I wish we could, but we can't. And I will still go and do that thing, because something is more important than the fear. So once you find the why of doing something, I think you can face any fear. When it comes to stress or feeling stressed, I ask myself these questions. I ask myself, is this something that I can control? Is this something that I cannot control? If this is something in my control, if this is something that I can work on and reduce the stress, I will do that. For example, if I'm stressed about taking an exam, I know that by being well prepared, my stress might reduce. I will ensure that I focus my energy on being well prepared rather than focus my energy on the stress. If I do not have the control, which is a lot of our situations, we are stressed because of circumstances or because of people, I do not think about it. I have trained myself to not think about it if I cannot control it, because it's a waste of time. I know that we know it. We know that stressing about something is not going to change the outcome of the situation. It's not going to change the person who is causing us stress. But it's hard to let go of stress. It's hard to let go of overthinking. It's hard to let go of not worrying about something. But one thing that I have learned is we can control what we think about. We can control our emotions. We have control over these things. We've just not practiced controlling it. So the best thing to do is to just start trying to practice controlling what you think about. I always tell people, control what you can control and leave the rest. So that's what I do in situations of stress. When it comes to disappointment, I know it sounds a little bit extreme, but we are usually disappointed by people and situations when we have high expectations of people and situations. If we do not have high expectations, we do not get disappointed. I have taught myself to not have high expectations. That does not mean that I don't expect good things from the people around me. That does not mean that I don't expect circumstances to work out. But there is an acceptance in me that says that it might not work out the way I want it to work out. It may turn out to be better, it may turn out to be worse. But that acceptance has helped me a lot, I think, because I'm not building things up in my mind, not expecting life to turn out a certain way, not expecting people to treat me a certain way. Yes, I do believe that the friends that I love or the family that I love won't hurt me or do anything intentionally to hurt me, but I also understand that they are humans, that humans are not perfect. I'm not perfect. If I'm not perfect, how do I expect perfection from them? I do need to be gracious towards them when they make mistakes. I need to forgive them when they do something that does not meet my expectations. Because of that way of thinking, I can protect myself from disappointment. I'm not saying that I don't get disappointed at all, but I think I've become better at not setting all these kinds of expectations on everything to be perfect to start with. And because of that, when things happen, I am more able to deal with them, if that makes sense. The next question is, does betrayal affect a person? Of course, betrayal does affect a person. I believe it affects both the person who is betraying as well as the person who gets betrayed. But I assume you are asking about someone who gets betrayed. Yes, it does affect us. It does hurt. It is painful. I think it also affects us in a way that we start viewing life through the lens of that betrayal, or start viewing other people we come into contact with through the lens of that betrayal. I was talking to someone recently. When she first joined the workplace, she was very naive, very innocent. She believed everyone who would talk to her nicely. It was only through experience that she realized that not everybody who smiles at you and talks nicely to you has good intentions. And so she started becoming a little wiser in her friendships and her relationships. And I think that is an impact of betrayal, that we become wiser. However, I do feel that sometimes we become overtly cautious and cynical, and that's where we shouldn't be going. We have the tendency to start looking at everyone with that lens of distrust because someone betrayed us in the past or multiple people betrayed us in the past. I think that is taking it too far. Yes, somebody might betray you, but if you start looking at everybody as a betrayer, I think we won't have any relationships. We will not be vulnerable. We will not be open. We'll have this massive wall built. Yes, betrayal affects us, but again, we can choose how it affects us. We can choose to become wiser because of it, but we can also choose not to become cynical because of it. The next question is, how do you maintain calmness even during chaos? I think this is one of the biggest qualities that I have always wanted to develop in myself, the ability to be calm. I recently picked up an old book that I had read, I don't even know how many years back, and there was a list of qualities that the author had put down, asking us to tick what are the qualities you want to develop in your life, and the first quality I had ticked was calm. I realized that because I wanted that quality so much, I put in a lot of effort to try to have that quality. Now, how did I develop that? Again, it came with practice. Any time that I was faced with a hard situation or a chaotic or messy situation, the question that I ask myself is, what can I learn from this? And what is the silver lining? And I will mostly always find the answer to one or both of those questions. When I do, it's so much easier to be calm because I see every situation as training. I see every situation as preparing me for the next stage of my life. When I see life like that, I see a situation like that, I don't panic, I don't worry, I don't make myself stressed, because I'm like, okay, there's a point to this. I know that through all these answers, I might sound a little bit extreme. I might sound as if I'm not human, but I believe that we can train ourselves. We have just not tried to. The natural instinct of a human being is to panic, is to worry, is to overthink. But I think when we look at every situation, the good, the bad, the ugly, and ask ourselves the question, what am I supposed to learn from this? What is the silver lining? What good is going to come out of this situation? You'll be able to remain calm because you have found the good in that situation. It might be a very, 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 very tiny good, but it's still a good. And once we start looking at every single thing through that lens, life becomes easier. Situations remain, circumstances are hard, but we become better at dealing with them. The next question is actually linked to that. It says how to be self-driven and resilient in all situations. It's about bouncing back from setbacks. It's about not letting obstacles which inevitably come into our lives stop us from moving forward. I view life as a marathon, like it's a race. It's not a competition, but it's a race. You're running, and there are multiple obstacles that come your way. It could be like health issues, it could be financial situations, it could be so many things that keep coming our way. The key is to not let those obstacles stop your momentum. I think in the past I have let certain situations stop my momentum. I have not pushed through certain situations. I have sat with those situations. I know that I come across as a very positive person or a positive minded person, but I'm also a very melancholic person. I can sit with sadness and grief, and I can enjoy sitting with it. I don't know how to explain it, but emotions like grief, sadness, all these things, I can sit with it, I can wallow in it, I can be there for months if I was allowed to, and I have lost a lot of time in my life because of that. And when I realized that that's not where I want to be. So no matter what the setback, no matter what the obstacle, no matter what the situation, I now choose to get up and get going. I don't want to waste too much time in that one place. It's okay to slow down a little bit. It's okay to stop for a bit, but don't stay there. Keep moving. And when you push yourself to get going, even though emotionally you might not feel like it, I think when you do it, your emotions catch up with your actions eventually. If you let your emotions dictate your actions, you will never get anything done. We will not be able to overcome anything if our emotions are in charge. The next question is, how do you manage peer pressure regarding marriage? There are a few things that have protected me from being peer pressured into marriage. The first thing is I'm very clear about what marriage means to me. I know for me that marriage is not about just getting love or getting someone, but about giving. I also believe that marriage is about two people coming together for a purpose, and therefore together we need to be stronger, together we need to be better. Marriage is not supposed to reduce our abilities but exponentially multiply it. Because I have that clarity about what I believe marriage is, I don't feel pressured to just get married. For me, it has to be with the right person. It has to be with someone who also thinks the way I do and believes the same things I do about marriage. The second thing is I also have a very strong belief in God's timing. I know that society expects you to get married by a certain time. The biological clock is a real thing. All of that I know. But I believe that it will happen at the right time, and that is according to God's will. The third thing is I'm very, very blessed to have people around me, like my family and my friends, who are not pressuring me into getting married. It's not even a conversation in most of my circles, because even they understand that for me, life is not only about marriage. There are so many other things that matter to me, and marriage is just one of that. So I'm incredibly blessed to have these kind of people. That's how I survived. The next question is, what makes you focus on your work and career when you are facing hard times personally? It has been hard in the past, especially because I'm not someone who can compartmentalize very easily. Anything that goes wrong in one area of my life bleeds into the other areas, but I have been trying to ensure that it doesn't impact different areas of my life. One thing I've realized is that at any given point of time, there would be something wrong going on in your life, in some area of your life. Life is never going to be steady and perfect. I think it would become a little bit boring if it was. So knowing that, I think it becomes incredibly more important to ensure that whenever something is going wrong in my personal life, I shouldn't let it affect my work life, or vice versa. One thing I also tell myself during those times is that already there is a mess happening in my personal life. Let's not mess up my work life, because at least let one area of my life work out well. And that kind of motivates me to maintain my work life even if my personal life is crumbling. So it's hard. I know it's hard, but I'm learning. I'm growing in that area as well, where I'm trying to ensure that just because one thing is wrong, I'm not letting it mess up all the other things. I think it's a mindset thing. A lot of the answers that I have given, actually, that I think about it, have been more about mindset, because it all comes down to your mind. The mind is the place where battles are fought. And I think when we are able to train our mind to fight those battles well, we are able to handle a lot of things that come our way because we have trained our mind. The next question is, how do you handle burnout or overwhelming phases at work? For burnout, I am conscious of the fact that we as humans need rest. We need to be able to recuperate and rejuvenate. So for me, rest looks like ensuring that I have 8 hours of sleep every day, ensuring that I take one day off work, which is on Sundays. It is also ensuring that I do certain things on a daily basis that refresh me. So for example, for me, that is journaling or praying, reading the Bible. Working out is also for me more refreshing mentally than physically. And if I do these things daily, even if I'm working very hard, all these daily practices or weekly practices ensure that I don't burn out. There are definitely times in my life where I haven't been able to do all of these things at the same time, but at least one of these things ensures that I don't burn out. The other thing that I do is I try to ensure that at the end of a busy work period, I have something planned to look forward to. For me, that is something like travel, something like meeting my friends, because most of my friends don't live in the same city that I do. So when I have something planned, so even if I have to really hustle and work hard for 3 months or 6 months, when I have that thing planned, it's harder to burn out, because I have that in mind, that even if, yes, I'm working hard right now, I have that plan of rest coming up and I will be rejuvenated after that. When it comes to getting overwhelmed at work, I still do get overwhelmed at work, especially when there are multiple things happening at the same time, or when your responsibilities of your professional life and your personal life come together. It's easy to get overwhelmed. What I have realized for myself is that when I get overwhelmed, it's more of, again, a battle in my mind, because I'm tired, because I am stressed, because there's just too many things happening at the same time. I get overstimulated and I start thinking things like, why am I doing this? Am I really supposed to be doing all these things? Can I give something up? Things like that. And that's when I kind of have to remind myself that this is what you prayed for, this is what you wanted, this is something that you get to do, not something that you have to do. And I kind of have to talk myself through that in order to realize that I can still manage. It's just that I feel overwhelmed. I think differentiating between feelings and your reality is important. Most of the time when we get overwhelmed, it's because we feel overwhelmed, but when we actually look at the situation, we realize that it's still manageable. So what do I do when I feel overwhelmed? I may take a break. I may cry, because for me crying is cathartic, so I will sit and cry and I'll be fine. Or I will just go to sleep. because I know that when I wake up the next day, I will be fine. Just being conscious of the fact that just because I'm feeling a certain way doesn't mean that that's my reality is helpful when I feel overwhelmed, especially at work. The next question was a little bit of a longer question, so I'm not going to read it fully. What this person has asked is they want to improve all these different aspects of their life. There is the spiritual aspect, the physical, the work aspect, skill development, hobbies, all these different things, family, that they want to improve. But the question is, how do I do all of these without burning out? How do I integrate all these pieces into my life slowly and meaningfully without losing peace? It's so true that there are so many things that we can do and we want to do to have a better life, to become a better individual, but we can't do everything at the same time. So my suggestion would be to look at your life right now and think for yourself, what is the one thing or two things or three things that I can do right now that will have the biggest impact? This will depend on your current life right now. Are you single? Are you married? Are you married with kids? Are you in the beginning stages of your career? Have you been working 10 years? Have you been working 20 years? Are you starting something new, or are you building on something that's already existing? All of these things will matter. For me, when I started thinking about building the life that I wanted or becoming the best version of myself, I started with the spiritual aspect because I knew that if I have that foundation right, everything else can be built on that. Everything else will follow after that. So that's how I started. I also believe that there are certain things that when you start doing, it will flow into other aspects of your life. For example, if you get disciplined about fitness, you will have more energy. Because you have more energy, you will have more time to spend time with your kids. So everything is interlinked as well, but just start with a few. Living a meaningful life, living an intentional life also requires sacrifice. That's something that we don't like doing, but that's the reality of things. We can't do everything. So there is a sacrifice of something that needs to be given. For example, right now the focus in my life is work, studies, health, and these type of videos or podcasts that I am doing on social media. Because these are my focus areas for this year, I had to give up my speaking engagements. Now, I love speaking, I love interacting with people, but I knew that I couldn't do everything. So I really had to be realistic about it and look at my life currently and say, okay, I cannot do this if I want to accomplish this year. Now, that's not forever. I'm not going to give up speaking. I'm not going to give up saying yes to speaking opportunities, but this year it's on the back burner. There are other things that at different stages of my life I had to sacrifice. I had to sacrifice time with friends. I had to sacrifice my free entertainment time because I wanted to focus on something. I think even accepting the fact that yes, there are certain things that will need to be sacrificed is also important when you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do, and then see how it progresses. The next question is, what one bold change in your life, career, relationships, or daily habits would make it feel truly fulfilling? This question made me think a lot, but I think one of the biggest bold change that I'm currently working on is to be courageous, to dream big and do big. What that means is I have realized that I have become a little complacent with my life. I'm not pushing myself as much as I would like to. I have been driven by a lot of fear and anxiety, and I think this is what I wanted to change this year, and I've already started working on it. I've started pushing myself out of my comfort zone because growth happens out of your comfort zone. So in all areas of my life, I want to become more courageous with what I do. I want to dream bigger. I want to do bigger. I don't want to limit myself, which is what I was doing, I think. Whether it is career, whether it is relationships, whether it is habits, I want to push myself more. I think if I do that, my life will change in a big way. So that's what I'm hoping. The last question is, what if you could design your ideal life 5 years from now? When I thought about it, I realized that yes, I do have an ideal life that I would want. I think the first thing that I would want is a very peaceful and joyous home life. I want my house and the people in my house to have a lot of peace and contentment and joy. That's what I want in my home. I want to be surrounded by people who love me, encourage me, and who I can love and encourage. I want the people around me to be people who push me to be better and who make me a better person. So that's the community that I want around me, and I want to be doing something that changes life, whether it is through my work, whether it is through my podcast, whether it is through my videos, whether it is through my speaking engagements, whether it is through anything that I cannot imagine right now. I want to be spending a lot of my time doing something that helps people. So that is my ideal life, to have a peaceful home, to have a good community around me, and to be doing something that contributes to this world. So that was the last question. Thank you so much for taking the time to put down these questions and share them with me. If this is something that you feel we can do like periodically, let me know. Please do subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss videos like this. You can subscribe to my personal channel, which is Rhoda Daniel, for more personal content like vlogs, or you can subscribe to A Life Under Construction for more content on living the life that you were meant to live. Thank you so much once again for all your questions, and I will see you in my next video.